webinar without having to go to school because we get it from Dr. Nario. So he gives us the highlight of the week.
I wish I'm contributing to everybody's knowledge. Well, so in our course recently, we're into the medical legal stuff. So we actually have discussed about safety in terms of integrative medical practitioners promoting themselves out there in the social media world or the internet world. So we already know about what ticks off FDA or FTC, right? You know, the cure, the treat words. Instead, use support, promote, and even the proven and clinically proven. We don't do that. You want to do research suggests or studies indicate. So the ones that stood out in our lesson is actually we discussed about patient testimonials. So this is something that's being used in websites. And the rule here is, so a good example that was given in the class was a patient would say, I had stage 4 cancer, but this clinic saved my life. So there's a problem with that. Even though it's true, testimonials that suggest typical or expected results are very tightly regulated. So you can get an issue with that. So, what is a better statement for that testimonial would be maybe after incorporating nutritional integrative support, I felt more energized and resilient during my treatment journey. And always, when you have a testimonial posted, always add a disclaimer on the bottom saying individual results may vary and it's not a substitute for standard cancer treatment. So always have that extra message down there. And another one that's a common mistake would be implying standard of care legitimacy. Meaning, a good example again would be saying all oncologists are now using IV vitamin C. The problem with that is it's a misleading statement about what's widely accepted in conventional medicine, which can be flagged as deceptive. So the solution, how to phrase that properly, is some integrative oncologists explore high dose vitamin C as a complementary approach, though it remains investigational and conventional in conventional oncology. So you could see how you kind of like backpedal again. And another one that's pretty famous would be off-label use, and sometimes it gets promoted. Like example, semaglutide can be used to treat depression. Again, clinicians can prescribe off-label, but promoting it online as a treatment crosses into marketing territory. So another way to state that is semaglutide is FDA approved for weight management. Some clinicians are exploring its broader metabolic effects, though more research is needed. So you always have that kind of like pulling yourself back while you dive in there.
So in other
So again,
words, weasel
sorry.
words. Weasel words.
Yeah, kind of like yeah, you outsmart them guys, the higher ups. So these are again, this were surveys done in integrated practices, and this is where the common pitfalls happen in relation to advertising and social media. So again, these are the ones that hit me. I don't know, there's probably more out there. And also one caveat, always put something in your website, especially if you're promoting integrative therapies. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any disease. So always put that in there if you have something that you kind of like question or think you're gonna get dinged for. So that's our medical legal lesson that I can impart to you guys.
There you go. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a good week. I don't know if did anybody notice that I changed the logo a little bit this week. It made it a little bit more
So you tell them the story about that.
angelic.
No, I don't know the story. It just looks
Uh,
good.
Dr. Bill had a moment when he heard the word mushrooms,
Wow.
and he saw retro colors coming out of the sky.
Whenever I hear
That's why
whenever I hear mushrooms, I think of Dr. Burgess.
I know nothing.
the hippie days, the fun days. Yeah, so you're probably gonna, yeah, differentiate that social with your lecture today.
Well, yes. Well, a little bit. We're talking about functional mushrooms, not the
Oh, there you go.
entheogenic.
Bump down some of our audiences.
Oh no, I hope not.
You're gonna lose some of our audience. We
Oh no.
there was our deceptive advertising, right?
Oh no.
Right. That's our deceptive advertising.
Yep, you caught them. You caught them.
So okay. All right. Well, I'm looking for the intro here, but Dr. Palomino, why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Dr. Xochitl Palomino. I'm a naturopathic physician. I've been working I saw patients for 11 years, and 10 those years I worked with sub-repping and demonstrating with different various companies, mushroom companies, and also like supplement countries. And in the last 5 years, I've been the national practitioner channel educator for Host Defense. So, but yes, I've been seeing patients for 10 years or 11 years, and so been using and integrating these in my practice, and also seeing the interest in mushrooms growing, and I think all of you have also, and with the new research coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the PowerPoint because I don't think it's up yet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, all right.
So while you're setting that up, let me add, I have your intro here. So she
Okay.
received her naturopathic doctorate degree at Bastyr University and her undergraduate degree in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. There's more, but I think you're going to start.
Yes, I'm trying to find the PowerPoint. It kind of just disappeared on me. So I'm going to
Yeah,
try
let me
again.
introduce you more.
Okay.
Uh, Her first exposure to benefits of herbs and plants was with her Mexican mother at 7 years old. Whenever an ailment would manifest and the desire to further learn persisted throughout her adulthood. During her undergraduate and graduate education, Dr. Palomino received 4 biomedical research grants from the NIH. During her studies at Bastyr, her education included Ayurvedic medicine, Western herbs, fundamentals of Chinese medicine, homeopathy, aromatic medicine, biofeedback, and yoga therapy. Oh, you're one of us, homeopathy. Um, for over, for over 5 years, Dr. Palomino has been a member of the National Science and Education team of Host Defense, where she has educated healthcare practitioners, pharmacists, retail staff, naturopathic organizations, and consumers on the benefits of mushrooms. She also educated healthcare professionals, retail staff, pharmacists. Oh, you said that. For over 15 years in the natural products industry, medical conferences, and state naturopathic organizations. Dr. Palomino has been the practitioner channel educator for Host Defense Mushrooms since 2020, and she has enjoyed developing and presenting practitioner level webinars and lectures. She looks forward to providing lectures to share her expertise and knowledge for all levels of understanding. All yours, Dr. Palomino.
All right. I'm going to minimize this so we can look at the screen here a little better. All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is the webinar, 7 Synergistic Mushrooms for Longevity for all here from the Homeopathic Board of Nevada and the American Osteopathic Society of Integrative Medicine. So some housekeeping items. I think some of you have seen that there is a copy of the slides, a PDF, and also a bibliography going by each slide if you're interested in the research that was used to develop this webinar. I know maybe most of you won't use it, but if you're ever curious to get more details, it's there in the chat attached as a document. Okay, let's continue. And as many of you are aware, there's a massive interest in mushrooms lately in the field of longevity medicine. Well, that's been a hot topic for some time now. But the concept of mushrooms supporting a healthier and longer life is an ancient one. In fact, reishi, the Ganoderma lucidum in ancient Asia, was only reserved for the royal families, and it was known as the mushroom of immortality. So you can see that the notion of mushrooms supporting our lives, even potentially extending it, is well known in ethnomycology. While many cultures have known the benefits of mushrooms in its support of longevity, what we will review today is the science of healthy longevity. We'll review the mechanisms of action of 7 mushrooms, and that would be reishi, cordyceps, royal sunblazeii, maitake, masima, lion's mane, and chaga. And we're going to go over their benefit of impacting cellular sinensis in particular. And just to jog our memories of what sinensis is the condition or process of deterioration of our cells with age. So essentially, the loss of our cells to divide and grow appropriately. and all of the mushrooms I just mentioned support longevity via different biochemical pathways, as you kind of can see here on the slide. So some of those pathways are by quenching free radicals, cell telomere protection, balancing telomerase enzyme expression, and even cellular energy production. We will also go through the benefits and concerns of each mushroom in a clinical setting, and that'd be like halfway through the webinar, so you can have a better understanding in a clinical setting and how to use these mushrooms. So let's get into it. And as our understanding of aging has advanced, modern science has revealed numerous insights into how we might extend human lifespan and improve our quality of life. This area of research is rapidly evolving with breakthroughs happening in genetics, cellular biology, metabolism, and nutrition. In fact, many of you may know of Brian Johnson, the former owner of Venmo, and he's on a mission of not only reversing the aging process, but to live forever, which is interesting. But just to show that there's a lot of breakthroughs that are emerging in this field. And there's a classification of new drugs or compounds called senolytics that are being researched and known. And what they do is they arrest the development of senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. So in our webinar today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at these exciting new areas of research and how the inclusion of beneficial mushrooms in a daily wellness regimen can be an excellent strategy to promote healthy, long lives. All right, so it's a hard truth some days, and sometimes it's harder on some days than others, that aging is an inevitable and it's also a major cause of many diseases. Scientists have linked cell senescence, when cells stop dividing but don't die, to aging. These zombie cells, what they do is they accumulate over time, leading to inflammation. And I think a lot of you know that's the combination of inflammation and aging. And this contributes to diseases that shorten health span. So as we age, senescent cells increase, impacting chronic disorders and the corresponding healthcare costs. Normally, the body regulates these senescent cells through apoptosis, programmed cell death, but these cells often resist this process, and that's therefore posing health risks. And oh,
Reno,
sorry,
I will find new ones.
pardon,
Right.
Dr. Oh, sorry,
About how much?
Dr. Burgess is. Are you asking a question? Okay, I'll keep on going. Okay, so these can have risk to not only are the senescent cells are not only problematic, but they also can harm healthy and nearby cells. So research suggests that cellular senescence may drive aging. So understanding how subcellular damage relates to visible aging is crucial. Studies on senolytics are revealing the connections between aging and the role cellular senescence plays in this natural process. It even appears that there are various pathways through which mushrooms, herbs, along with some supplements, diet, and lifestyle changes can contribute to the removal of these pernicious zombie cells that are implicated in the aging process. Ironically, the prevalence of age-related diseases is increasing due to our increased life expectancy. So there's the irony of that. And according to one researcher, the estimated natural life expectancy of human was approximately 30 years. But there have been investments over the past 150 years that have led to improved working conditions, housing, sanitation, and medicine that's extended life to about nearly 80 years in most developed countries. The downside of longer lifespans is that a significant fraction of the population now experience age-related tissue deterioration and diseases of aging. Our genetic blueprint confers fitness and vitality earlier in life to maximize reproduction and the rearing of our offspring. But multiple factors can impact the rate at which we age, such as genetic and epigenetic factors, cellular stability, stress levels, and nutrient intake throughout a lifetime. In fact, current research is showing that nutritional intake from gestation through the 50th year of our lives is critical for setting the stage for health and vitality throughout a person's life. Once adulthood is attained, there are many healthy aging strategies we can employ. These can include calorie restriction, intermittent fasting, physical exercise, enhancement of adult neurogenesis, stress reduction practices, and a healthy diet, which includes plant and mushroom compounds, such as antioxidants that can support our health and longevity. So first, let's discuss epigenetics and go over some basics to get our brains going about the genome. So the term epigenesis has Greek origins, and it means over and above the genome. Epigenetics is how our gene expresses themselves dependent upon the stressors or supports that come from the environment. So much more like the nurture over nature situation. Epigenetics can be used to describe anything other than the DNA sequence that influences the development of an organism's. Epigenetics refers to external modifications to DNA that turn genes on or off. And these modifications do change the DNA sequence, but instead they affect how cells are read, and basically how our genes are read. Research shows that nutrition plays a significant role in regulating the epigenome. Certain food components enhance DNA repair enzymes that support cell health and longevity. Whole plant foods, rich in antioxidants, can reduce DNA damage. Compounds like resveratrol from purple fruits, bicogenol from pine bark, and various mushroom compounds like terpenes and polyphenols help support DNA integrity. Nutriepigenomics examines how food nutrients affect health through epigenetic modifications. Evidence links nutritional imbalances during pregnancy and lactation to conditions like obesity, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. A study in the journal Nutrition and Cancer, as you see on the slide here, discusses dietary bioactive food constituents and their epigenetic effects on liver cell morphology. So there are antioxidants like EGCG, the short version for epigallocatechin gallate, resveratrol, curcumin, and sulforaphanes, along with polyphenols, bioflavonoids, folic acid, and omega-3 fatty acids support the epigenome. Additionally, nicotinamide, derived from vitamin B3, is crucial for energy production and acts as an antioxidant. And mushrooms boost nicotinamide levels and engage in other antioxidant activities. So overall, these compounds positively influence gene expression, showcasing the beneficial epigenetic support mushrooms can provide. There are two very powerful molecules that may be allies in reducing oxidative damage, glutathione and spermidine. Glutathione has been called the master antioxidant because of its critical roles in metabolic mechanisms and pathways. There is emerging research indicating mushrooms can naturally produce both glutathione along with reduced forms of glutathione, which are absorbed more rapidly. And there are new studies on a polyamine called spermidine. And spermidine has been shown to have anti-aging properties, down-regulating inflammation and counteracting oxidative processes. Spermidine has been found in several mushroom species. Mushrooms produce compounds that support our internal antioxidant activity. Antioxidants, what they do is they stabilize oxidized molecules by donating electrons. So the mushrooms reishi, chaga, royal sun blazea contain varying levels of antioxidant quercetin. Lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, mesema, and maitake produce phenolic compounds with preliminary studies showing that lion's mane mycelium supports antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, and catalase. So this antioxidant activity may support the gene SIRT1, which we'll go more in detail shortly. But for those that may not or may know or may not know, SIRT1 is just one of the sirtuin family of deacetylases that are crucial for metabolism, aging, and DNA repair. But we'll get back to that later. So let's continue with reishi. As you see on the screen here, the second one on the chart, reishi produces a species-specific antioxidant called ganoduric acid. It's a triterpenoid antioxidant that could benefit lifespan, and vitality. Additionally, all the mushrooms contain the unique amino acid antioxidant ergothioneine. And don't remember, reishi was the mushroom of immortality, so maybe those antioxidants are part of the reason. So let's continue with the ergothioneine, and there's recent advances have enhanced our understanding of ergothioneine, including the discovery of a specific type of ergothioneine transporter on cell membranes in complex organisms and humans. While its full physiological role remains unclear, ergothioneine has demonstrated significant antioxidant and cytoprotective effects in both in vitro and in vivo studies, including free radical scavenging, immune modulation, UV protection, and neurological support. Ergothioneine is concentrated in tissues often exposed to oxidative stress, like the lens of our eyes, our liver, our bone marrow, and seminal fluid, and it's more stable in our blood than glutathione. Only certain bacteria and non-yeast fungi synthesize ergothioneine, while mammals must obtain it from their diet. So a good source of plant-based ergothioneine are black beans or oats, and many mushroom species are known to produce ergothioneine as well. There's an increasing effort to standardize ergothioneine as a key antioxidant in the mushroom supplement industry, and different because this is partly due to the unique properties and potential health benefits. But however, standardizing one antioxidant like ergothioneine can be complex. Because while ergothioneine is significant, many mushroom species contain a diverse array of other antioxidant compounds that also contribute to their health and benefit. For instance, we're back to reishi again. Despite having low levels of ergothioneine, it is well known that there are very powerful antioxidant effects due to other bioactive compounds, such as glutathione and also the terpene ganoderic acid, as well as other polysaccharides. So these compounds may drive various antioxidant pathways that work synergistically. And this highlights the importance of considering the overall antioxidant profile of mushrooms rather than focusing solely on one compound. All right, so now let's discuss an important short-chain fatty acid with antioxidant properties, and that is butyrate. So butyrate is a powerful postbiotic short-chain fatty acid formed in our intestines as a byproduct of bacterial fermentation of dietary fibers. And it also can come from fermented foods also. So not only can we make our own short-chain fatty acids like butyrate from our own gut ferment tank, but fermented foods that we eat can also have short-chain fatty acids within them. So one example, as you can see on the slide, is the butyrate produces during fermentation that further supports gut barrier function through the stimulation of mucus production and tight junction assemblies and minimizing antigen translocation and inflammation. Butyrate also regulates inflammatory pathways through G protein coupled receptors in our enterocytes and through the inhibition of histone deacetylase in macrophages. And remember, histones, they wrap around our backbone of our DNA. So that's one way it can affect that. And furthermore, G protein coupled receptor signaling in our enteroendocrine cells induce secretion of hormones like GLP-1, glucagon like peptide 1, and peptide YY that acts in many organs, including our brain. And remember, maybe you don't know, peptide YY is a small peptide that reduces our appetite. So mushrooms may support in this function in satiety. I'm going to point it out here in satiety or appetite control, and also in its antioxidant activity. So it has great anti-inflammatory effects, as you can see here, as I'm pointing out. One study found that a blend of oyster, reishi, and maitake mushrooms significantly increased butyrate levels in participants making 53.1% of total short-chain fatty acids as compared to the 27% in the control group. So this substantial difference may not only influence overall well-being, but also may support longevity. Research on fermented brown rice products also shows they can enhance short-chain fatty acid production, including butyrate production. A study of a fermented brown rice drink with beneficial probiotic species observed higher butyrate levels, offering insights into mycelial fermented foods' roles in digestion. Butyrate may promote mitochondrial health and reverse senescent cell through epigenetic modifications. It affects autophagy, a process that recycles damaged components, by inhibiting key regulators of metabolism like AMPK, adenosine monophosphate protein kinase. I'll go over more on AMPK later, like with the CERT one in the webinar, but back to butyrate. So additionally, butyrate might help maintain telomeres. Inflammation and oxidative stress both accelerate telomere shortening. So ameliorating that process is a good idea if you want to extend your life with longevity senolytics. All right, so now let's explore research on telomeres and their impact on cellular health. So telomeres, as you know, are an essential part of human cells that affect how our cells age and then also how we divide our cells. Research suggests that telomeres are related to aging process, and there is a strong correlation between the telomere shortening rate and the lifespan of a species. Telomeres are the caps at the end of DNA that protect our chromosomes, like the plastic tips of the end of shoelaces. Without the coating, shoelaces become frayed until they can no longer do their job. Just as without telomeres, DNA strands become damaged and our cells can't do their job properly. They can't divide properly or their cells can't function well. So the body of research on telomere length, the activity of the enzyme telomerase, and their impacts on aging is a growing field, and it's growing rapidly. There are indicators that preservation of telomeres during cell division can support the whole organism through maintaining healthy cell DNA and healthy cell reproduction. Shortened telomeres may be responsible for some of the negative aspects of aging, such as diminished cellular functioning and DNA anomalies. This can manifest as declining cognitive functioning or decreased energy production. So diminished cellular functioning can also cause slower cellular repair in the case of injury or just normal degradation. This is a process of senescence. One way telomeres are managed is through the telomerase enzyme activity. Telomerase is an enzyme that adds nucleotide sequences to the end of chromosomes. Nucleotides are, as you know, organic molecules that are the building blocks of DNA and RNA. They help to maintain the length and integrity of telomeres, which is crucial for cell division and longevity. In most cells, telomerase is either undetectable or active at a very low level, but it is highly active in rapidly dividing cells like the lining of our lungs, our gastrointestinal tract, our bone marrow, or especially developing fetuses. This activity allows these cells to divide many times without damage or apoptosis. However, telomerase is also abnormally active in most cancer cells, enabling uncontrolled tumor growth. So, appropriate telomerase activity is essential for longevity. Too much can accelerate tumor growth, while insufficient cell activities can hinder stem cell differentiation into specialized cells like T cells or cardiomyocytes. For example, this study identifies that chronic infection and oxidative stress can lead to dysfunctional immune responses in aging T lymphocytes. These cells lose telomerase activity and experience progressive telomere shortening. Eventually, they reach a critical short length associated with senescence, impacting immune function as we age. There may be other beneficial lifestyle habits that can also support epigenetic influences upon longevity. So, chronic psychological stress has been linked not only to reduced T cell function and increased pro inflammatory cytokine responses, but also to shorten telomere length. Evidence is beginning to emerge from peer reviewed research that stress reducing interventions may improve telomere length and telomerase activity. Numerous researchers over the last number of years have discovered that followers of mindfulness practice tend to have longer telomere length than individuals who do not practice mindfulness techniques. This study you see on the screen there looked at effects of mindfulness-based stress reduction. In addition to the established benefits of mindfulness-based stress reduction, in reducing psychological and physical symptoms, this study provides evidence that mindfulness practice also increases telomerase activity in healthy immune cells. Loving kindness or metta meditation is a type of meditation practice that focuses on developing a positive intention, unselfish kindness, and warmth towards all people. The research in the second study found longer relative telomere lengths in the individuals with many years of experience in loving kindness metta meditation compared to those who do not meditate. I don't think that's news to people, but I think it's an interesting information. Mushrooms are capable of impacting both telomerase inhibition in dysregulated cell replication and telomerase in healthy cells, telomerase induction in healthy cells. This leads to potential adaptive or regulatory impact that is influenced by mushrooms, as you can see here on the screen. This is yet another way that mushrooms help our body function optimally and adapt to according to our underlying terrain or constitution. So in a nutshell, telomeres protect the ends of genetic material as it goes through cell divisions. If cells age poorly, the telomeres become shorter. Shortened telomere length has a relationship to the negative aspects of rapid aging and may also contribute to improper cell division or even cell function. So now let's look at additional emerging research on healthy longevity, which is centered on the SIRT1 gene. As I promised, we would talk about that. As the science of genetics has progressed, we know now that some genes are linked to disease states. We also know that there are genes that, when activated, may modulate gene expression and the manifestation of disease. If you add in beneficial epigenetic influences, antioxidant activity, preservation of telomeres, and add the activation of specific genes, you may have the makings of a long and healthy life. The SIRT1 gene and its express enzyme has over 136 direct interactions with numerous metabolic processes and can reduce the expression of potential deleterious genes. Current research is finding that stimulating the SIRT1 gene is a powerful management tool affecting overall health and longevity. So, how can we activate the SIRT1 gene? Currently, only a few effective methods are known to turn on these genes have been discovered. So let's start with one. One effective approach is following a restrict caloric diet or an alternate day diet. While challenging to maintain long term, these diets are backed by scientific research and may exert epigenetic and SIRT1 influences on various tissues and issues, including metabolic and inflammatory markers. Other ways you can support engagement of the SIRT1 gene include sunlight exposure or taking vitamin D, because we know adequate sunlight exposure can help boost vitamin D levels, which has been linked to increased SIRT1 expression. Other but potentially beneficial interventions are hot, cold, or even contrasting hot-cold physical treatments associated with stress shock proteins all support SIRT1 dependent pathways. Certain compounds found in herbs and mushrooms have been also found to support SIRT1 expression, and antioxidant rich foods show strong upregulation of SIRT1 activity. So this means such mushrooms as reishi, chaga, lion's mane, maitake, cordyceps missima, and royal sunblazia can positively influence SIRT1 gene expression and enzyme activity. So let's further look at some research connecting the dots between mushrooms and SIRT1 gene expression. The first study on the chart is a research article from 2018 where we see how reishi promotes SIRT1 expression and beneficially supported kidney cell function and reduced kidney cell senescence. Cordyceps, the next one, the second row, cordyceps militaris was found to reassert normal SIRT1 expression that can positively impact sperm viability and age-related decline. And remember that cellular transporters that every human cell has for ergothioneine that I mentioned earlier? Ergothioneine increases antioxidant activity and SIRT1 gene expression that can beneficially impact healthy cell aging. A third method to activate SIRT1 genes involves influence AMPK processes in the body. So AMPK, also known as activated protein kinase, is an enzyme crucial for cellular energy balance and longevity, which is found in various tissues like our liver, our brain, and our skeletal muscles. During exercise, AMPK helps muscle cells adapt to energy demands. Additionally, AMPK stimulates SIRT1 gene expression. So, besides moderate exercise, fasting, sunlight, vitamin D, and certain nutrients can all activate this rescue gene known as SIRT1. And interestingly enough, reishi, cordyceps, and chaga not only support energy levels, skeletal muscle function, and promote recovery after exercise through their antioxidant effects, but all three species or compounds within them have also been shown in published studies like these three examples to support the activation of AMPK. So there's many ways these mushrooms can support aging. I should say healthy aging. All right, so you can see this chart. It's pretty comprehensive. It kind of goes over what I just discussed in one visual. And one of the important takeaways I would like for you to take from today's discussion on longevity is that we all have the ability to influence good gene expression based on our dietary, exercise, and stress reduction habits. So this chart shows how 7 species of mushrooms may impact on every aspect of healthy aging we covered in today's webinar. The chart illustrates a pathway supported by these 7 mushrooms, and you can see it includes SIRT1 gene activity, AMPK activation, mitochondrial ATP formation, and nicotinamide promotion, as well as their role in promoting cell membrane integrity. And this is due to antioxidant activity typically. Together, these factors enhance beneficial gene expression, preserve DNA during replication, and support metabolic processes. And now we're going to discuss a little bit about how zombie cells may not be so bad for us. I know it's kind of contradictory, but I remember when I was in a molecular biology course in UC Santa Cruz, one of my professors was talking about the issues with longevity research. He was talking about immortality in particular, and he brought to us the idea of continuously dividing cells, because if you live forever, your cells need to divide forever. And there lies the rub. You want longer living cells that have healthy telomeres, but you don't want your cells to mimic cancer with uncontrolled telomerase activity. I'm sure many of you remember HeLa cells, the Henrietta Lack, how that was one of the first cervical cancers that they're done, as of today, since the 1950s, using those cells because they continuously divide uncontrollably. So sure, you want your cells to hold on to your telomeres, but it is unclear whether telomerase, adding telomeres ad infinitum is such a good idea. And there is research that you see on the slide indicating it is really about balanced telomerase activity that may be the way for healthy longevity. It appears there are 2 different senescent cells that modulate telomerase activity. These 2 types of senescent cells, as we see on the screen, are D for detriment, like up here, little 3 Ds, and H for helper senescent cells, you can see there. And D senescent cells have a pro-inflammatory, pro-apoptotic, tissue damaging, and are susceptible to senolytics. H senescent cells are not cleared by senolytics. H. sinensis cells appear to promote stem and progenitor cell determination into appropriate lineages and functions and have a beneficial impact on tissue homeostasis. H. sinensis cells might account for 30 to 70% of all of our sinensis cells. There is speculation there could be mechanisms through which D and H sinensis cells can interconvert, but that remains to be fully explored. D and H senescent cells may both have beneficial functions, including remodeling of tissues during development, release of factors by placental senescent cells during childbirth that promote passage of the infant through the birth canal, removal of damaged tissues during initial phase of wound repair, and immunoresponsiveness on mutated cells. Cellular senescence can protect against mutated cells, leading to replicative arrest of cancer cells as well as a pro-apoptotic activity. So, much like in life, moderation is key here with clearance of senescent cells, and merely promoting telomerase activity may not be so wise. So, perhaps balanced telomerase activity is the way to go. And many of you know through our integrative medicine training that formulas of herbs and mushrooms can be more powerful than the individual herb or mushroom by itself. The concept of synergism or the entourage effect has been around for quite some time. This study you see on the screen was published in the International Journal of Medicinal Mushrooms on a 7 mushroom formula, the 7 mushrooms we just reviewed, that demonstrates the power of synergy of mushrooms when they're taken in a formula together. The 7 species blend of mushrooms, mycelium, and fermented rice was tested using in vitro cell model methods. The study showed that the murine macrophages or mice macrophages and human spleen natural killer cells activity was more active with formula when compared to the activity of the single mushroom species. So just further supporting the ancient notion that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So now we're going to go over the benefits and concerns of the 7 mushrooms we just reviewed in a clinical setting. The benefits will be on the chart, and the concerns will be at the bottom of the screen of the chart. And one item of note, anyone about to get an organ transplant or has received an organ transplant should not eat culinary mushrooms or take any mushroom supplementation. All right, let's begin. So this will start with reishi. There was a study of 64 women with fibromyalgia that took 6 grams of reishi per day for 6 weeks, experienced significantly improved aerobic endurance, lower body flexibility, and velocity. Another study of women with fibromyalgia taking 6 grams of reishi for 6 weeks observed improved levels of happiness and satisfaction with life, and reduced depression were evident at the end of the treatment. There is a study of reishi mycelium and its fermented substrate that found it to provide gentle and nuanced support for immune functioning. This data suggests that reishi may be an ally for a person with sensitive biochemistry supporting modulatory and pacification activity. There's also data that is concerned about the reishi fruit body potentially aggravating those with overreactive immune systems. So if you have clientele with overactive immune systems, maybe stick to the reishi mycelium and not the reishi fruit body. There are other concerns to go over about reishi, and a study where 19 batches of products of reishi herbal mushroom supplements purchased in the United States were evaluated. It was stated when they evaluated what was stated on their label. I'm sorry about that. Only 5 tested samples, about 26%, were in accordance with what was written on the labels, which is a poor assessment of the U.S. market of reishi. So there's some concerns because they use iodine testing and megazyme testing, and those metrics are not recognized by the AOSC. But regardless, it does lend to the idea of seeking reishi products that do use AOSC standards and the need for transparency. And some of you will be asking, what is the AOSC International? So the AOAC is the Association of Official Analytical Collaboration International. It is the entity that generates international validated tests and methods to ensure a scientific standard that is accepted in the mushroom supplement industry. Other things of reishi that may be concerned, reishi can mildly lower systolic blood pressure. So be sure your patients monitor their blood pressure, especially if they're on blood pressure medications. You could take one in the morning or night, but I do tend to say take mushroom products in the morning or before 2 p.m. because it can affect sleep because it could be energizing. Or you can take it within a 2-hour window, but work with the pharmacist to be sure there's no interactions. And there have been some concerns with theoretical pharmacology and animal studies that are worth mentioning here about reishi. There's a study showing that reishi may have mild interaction with estrogen receptors. There's an ethanol extract of reishi fruit body was shown to have very weak binding activity to human estrogen alpha and beta receptors, which can be problematic with patients with estrogen dominant conditions. So be cautious with patients with uterus issues such as fibroids, endometriosis, or endometriosis, or any condition causing heavy menstrual flow, or even any estrogen sensitive conditions like breast tissue issues. If there's any concern and you still want to use reishi, you can always add turkey tail to the formula to counteract this effect if that's a great concern. There is concern that reishi may have blood thinning properties, although reishi has in vitro research suggesting fibrinolytic and antithrombotic activity. There is a human in vivo randomized double-blind placebo study using 2 hemostatic monitors that found that 1.5 grams daily use of reishi was not associated with gross impairment of platelet and global hemostatic function. But there was potential interaction at 3 grams of reishi. So if you have patients on blood thinners, keep it to 1.5 grams of reishi or less, and be sure they're being monitored through INR or prothrombin time test just to be sure there's no interactions. Once again, you could do the 2-hour window, use one day or night, just to prevent any of those interactions if that's a great concern. And a study of 3 reishi fruit body extracts of fruit bodies from China were shown to have poor cell viability with adult and children peripheral blood mononuclear cells. These are the concerns of fruit bodies or much of anything coming from China that we have to be aware of. Could this be due to heavy metals, pesticides, or insecticides? It could be, but these results of poor cell viability are not consistent with the thousands of years of observation and use of reishi. So this leads to the need for stringent third-party batch and internal testing with multiple analyses performed on both ingredients and finished lots to ensure identity, purity, composition, and safety. There is an animal research where reishi fruit body extract overrode the immunosuppressive activity of cyclophosphamide. So this is a particular concern for those about to get an organ transplant or to receive an organ transplant. So just be aware of that interaction. So for centuries, humans have been using reishi with positive reported outcomes, but replicating these outcomes with human clinical trials has been problematic. Some of these concerns could be methodology issues, clean material, or purity issues. Some of these studies are old, they're about 20 years old, so potentially outdated information could be the issue. There are a lot of confounding issues, such as divining how robust or clean the material is for clinical use, and difficult to gain confidence of a product for our patients. So in the end, we just need better testing methods and data for products that we want to give our patients, especially our patients with compromised immune system or overreacting immune systems. All right. So on to lion's mane. So with all the medicinal mushrooms, especially lion's mane, there's plenty of data showing both the mycelium and fruit body of lion's mane can be beneficial. But by 2020, human studies of lion's mane were scarce, with only 3 trials that examined the efficacy of oral administration of lion's mane for improving brain pathology. However, there is one study published in June of 2024 by Dr. Dean Ornish and his group, where 2 grams of powder of lion's mane mycelium fermented in brown rice were observed, along with dietary and lifestyle changes and other supplements, found significant beneficial changes for cognitive function, daily function, and overall health and wellness. But one thing is evident in these studies, whether human or animal study, there is a gut brain and gut immune connection. All of these studies on this chart of lion's mane are interacting with the GALT or the microbiome. Many of us have been trained that the primary foundation of health starts in our intestinal tract and our ability to digest properly. Since about 2/3 of our immune system is in our GI tract, our gut-associated lymphoid tissue, the GALT, and our pyre patches. And our largest microbiome in our body is in our intestines, including the second highest numbers of neurons in the body resides in our gut. There are a lot of ways we can positively affect our patient's health through the gut, even stimulating the vagal nerve. So another unique aspect of the lion's mane is the effect of growth factors, particularly VEGF. VEGF is vascular growth endothelial factor, which is a growth factor that is primarily associated with the expansion of vessels, along with several other actions, such as vascular permeability and anti-apoptotic effect. But one of the great things of VEGF that we find out, it balances our mood also. So probably the most exciting news research is a preliminary study uncovering novel compounds and supportive activity of lion's mane mycelium in solid state fermentation in rice. We know from previous research that the terpene arenacine compounds support nerve generative activity. At this point, research indicates that the aranacine compounds are produced predominantly by the mycelium of the lion's mane mushroom. The mycelium and fermented rice, when studied by HPLC, all show the presence of a number of different aranacine molecules. So furthermore, in vitro research on human brain cells demonstrates that lion's mane mycelium and fermented rice supports neurite outgrowth comparable to brain-derived neurotropic factor, BDNF. And if you don't remember, BDNF is the neurotransmitter that supports nerve generative activity and daily reparative functions of our neurons. A drawback oh, I need to stay here on lion's mane. So now on to concerns here on the bottom. Sorry for the clicking that too soon. A drawback is that if we are looking to change brain chemistry or want to use lion's mane for its neurogenerative activity, it needs to be on a continuous basis. All right, on to cordyceps. So cordyceps is more widely known for its support associated with energy and breathing. But their other studies have also shown promise for brain and nervous system support. The first three studies you see on the chart show the affinity of cordyceps has on our lungs, both on the bronchial tree and the delicate alveolar tissue of our lungs, by promoting a balanced immune response and improving VO2 max, the maximum amount of oxygen that a person can use during intense exercise. The fourth study on the chart showed that 39 healthy males orally taking an ethanol extract of cordyceps in capsules at 1.5 grams a day showed statistically increased natural killer cell activity, lymphocyte activity, along with increased interleukin-2 and interferon gamma activity, meaning that the innate natural killers and adapted immune system, lymphocytes, were supported along with extracellular immunity support, like interleukin-2 and directing white blood cells, and interferon gamma supporting intercellular immunity, basically supporting apoptosis. In the last study of the chart, cordyceps was studied to determine how it can support memory and learning. A number of mechanisms were discovered, including antioxidant activity that protected nerve cells from oxidative damage. Another finding suggested that cordyceps could potentially support growth factors, NGF and BDNF, nerve growth factor, and brain-derived neurotropic factors. Another facet of cordyceps is the research show it may also have antioxidant activity associated with increased superoxide dismutase enzyme activity. Concerns, as delineated on the bottom, cordyceps is very energizing, so avoid it taking much past 2 p.m. Otherwise, it could cause insomnia. One of the other concerns, probably the bigger concern, is with hormone sensitive tumors, primarily with testosterone. Could be a concern with cordyceps. Cordyceps can support testosterone production. So combining it with the mushroom turkey tail could alleviate some of these concerns and issues. There's also, once again, cordyceps fruit body research showing that it can override the immunosuppressive activity of cyclophosphamide. So be aware of those concerns and avoid that combination of cyclophosphamide and cordyceps use. On to Mataki. So Mataki supports immune engagement and modulatory regulatory activity. It has been about 40 years now since the potential anti-tumor activity was first discovered by Japanese researchers. Since then, all kinds of research have further supported the immunopotentiating activity of Mataki, along with support of apoptotic and autophagy pathways of our immune system. Mataki supports healthy glycemic balance along with healthy blood lipid metabolism and supports liver detoxification pathways and antioxidant activity. In the second and third studies on the chart suggest that Mataki polysaccharides contribute to the treatment of metabolic disorders such as non-alcoholic fatty liver diseases, diabetes, indicating their potential for preventing or treating hyperglycemia or hyperlipidemia. In the last study on the chart, Mataki polysaccharides have been found to support the preservation of mitochondrial function and may increase antioxidant enzyme activity in aging mice. Concerns as listed on the bottom, because Mataki supports healthy glycemic balance and it may affect the glucose levels of people who are on glucose modifying medications such as insulin or metformin. So be sure your patients are being monitored with glucometers, and you always could do a 2-hour window to prevent those interactions, or take one at night during the day. You could figure out a strategy for your patients. And maitake fruit body extract, once again, is one of those mushrooms that can override this immune suppressive activity of cyclophosphamide and decrease drug clearance rate. So be aware of that interaction. On to Misema. Misema may support energy through AMPK promotion. A study found that Misema may increase the activity of AMPK to enhance autophagy. There are some sparse case reports that demonstrate the therapeutic effects of Misema in patients with fast-growing mutated cells. One of the more fascinating apoptotic pathways are the capsase enzymes, which is the same pathway that the cannabinoid CBD or cannabidiol uses for programmed cell death. So it's kind of interesting they use both of that capsase enzyme. In animal studies, Misema polysaccharides have been shown to potentially reduce serum triglyceride, blood cholesterol, and serum lower density lipoprotein to increase high density lipoprotein. And the following study is not on the chart, but it is in the bibliography. So if you're interested, check that out. Misema may increase the sensitivity of cancer cells to radiation. So potentially Misema plus radiation treatment may cause cancer cell apoptotic cell death. As of concerns, listed on the bottom, there are very low theoretical pharmacological concerns with Misema, potentially interacting with 4-cytochrome P450 enzymes as listed on the chart. So it's just their theoretical pharmacology, but always a good idea to know that information. Chaga, all right. So chaga appears to impact immune and epithelial tissues like our skin, lungs, gastrointestinal tract, partly due to its antioxidant activity. Chaga supports a modulated immune response in the malt, balt, and galt. So basically our oral mucosal lining, the lining of our lungs, and our GI tract. And because it's all the same tissue type, it all has similar immune responsiveness. Chaga supports antioxidant activity, supporting our neurons, stabilizing intestinal cell DNA, daily tissue generative activity, and supports post-exercise recovery. Another way it supports exercise is that chaga supports muscle energy production. Chaga supports glycemic balance as functioning as a prebiotic for our probiotic microflora proliferation, specifically in the lactobacilli and bifidobacteria species. Chaga has anti-tyrosinase activities. Tyrosinase is the rate-limiting enzyme in the melanin production. So tyrosinase is found in melanosomes, specialized organelles produced by melanocytic cells. So melanosomes are transferred from melanocytes to keratinocytes where they are dispersed to create normal skin color. So chaga can support the normal production of melanocytes on our skin, hair, and eyes. So some of the concerns as listed on the bottom, there was one case report of neuropathy with renal failure associated with the sclerotia of chaga. This is thought to do with the high oxalate content of wild crafted chaga. And to be clear, the sclerotia, that big dark not on trees. It's not the fruit body. The fruit body is this white puff behind the bark. So just to be clear that those are not the two, they're not the same. Another issue that is that all human clinical studies have been blocked by Russia and on chaga for the past 25 years or so. So we don't have updated information of human studies on chaga. We just have animal studies. So just to be clear, that's why if you're wondering why I don't have a human study, just one review, that's why. All right. On to Royal Sun Blazei. So Royal Sun Blazei mounts a strong immune response and supports immune modulation. There are studies showing how agaricus supports both bacterial and viral pathogenic attack. Water extracts of mycelial culture and fruit bodies ethanol extract markedly induce TNF production, tumor necrosis factor production, and interleukin 8 of macrophages derived from rat bone marrow. A gentle reminder that TNF or tumor necrosis factor is a systemic cytokine that suppresses tumor proliferation, and interleukin 8 is a chemokine associated with swelling and increased permeability of our membranes. Tissue permeability is important so that immune cells can move through barriers to access the tissues impacted by pathogens or trauma, but too much can be problematic. So it's always about balance, right? In another paper, using ethanolic fractions obtained from mycelia inhibited the occurrence of viral cytopathic effect induced by Western equine encephalitis and herpes simplex. Also, fine particles of Agaricus fruit body and mycelium activated human complement system, immune system. Yet more proof of its activity enhancing natural immunity in bacterial infections. These following two studies are not on the chart, but they are on the bibliography. Agaricus may balance our lipids and our glucose metabolism. In an animal rat study of agaricus oligosaccharides, it was found that it may be having anti-hyperglycemic activity, may lower elevated triglycerides, lower elevated cholesterol, and support anti-arteriosclerotic activity, indicating overall anti-diabetic activity. Royal Sun Blazei may also support the destruction of highly mutated and rapidly growing cells. It may support daily anti-neoplastic, anti-angiogenic effect with possible anti-metastatic mechanisms, pro-apoptotic tumor mechanisms, along with both therapeutic enhancements and reduction of adverse effects of chemotherapy. As for concerns, you can see in the bottom here, there are rare reports of mild GI upset, allergic reactivity, and hypoglycemia in type 2 diabetics. There have been 2 reports of potential hepatic toxicity, but these results were confounded due to the co-administration of cytotoxic chemotherapy. So we're tended thinking it was the chemotherapy and not the mushroom agaricus blazei causing the problems on the cytotoxic effects. There was an agaricus extract can also downregulate the expression of cytochrome P451A, and it can be useful in reducing the production of metabolically activated procarcinogens from xenobiotics, but it can consequently prolong the duration and intensity of drug activity and could give rise to unpredictable side effects or adverse drug reactions. So theoretically, agaricus mushrooms might interfere with blood glucose control during and after surgical procedures. So tell your patients to discontinue agaricus mushrooms at least 2 weeks before elective surgical procedures. There is an important clinical toxicological concerning all mushrooms, especially wild-crafted mushrooms we need to review. It is possible for wild-crafted mushrooms, even organic ones, to be contaminated with substantial levels of metals such as arsenic, lead, cadmium, mercury, as well as radioactive cesium-137, because many mushroom species actively accumulate radioactive and heavy metals substances in relatively high concentrations. That's why they're used for bioremediation. It is even mentioned in older Chinese medicine texts for if you're taking TCM courses like 30 years ago, warning the reader of that there is heavy metals in the herbs from China and mushrooms from China. So mushrooms are being biomediators for petroleum-based products like insecticides, pesticides, or even just oil spills. They're also bioremediators for bacteria like E. coli. So there's a lot of concern there. So high levels of toxic compounds may offset whatever health benefit a diet rich in mushrooms or their extracts could potentially offer. So always just be aware uh, that your products are being properly tested. They're doing finished lot testing and being sure that those things are being tested for and they're not in those mushroom products. All right, we come to the end, and thank you for being here. So I'm ready for questions, and I just want to leave that treating the whole person is one of the naturopathic principles. As integrated practitioners, we understand the interconnectedness of our body, our environment, and our lifestyle when we strive for a total health for our patients, but for ourselves too. So it is only through the whole person based approach that we can seek to restore balance and health. And mushrooms is just one of those tools we can use to treat the whole body with minimal interactions with herbs or even pharmaceutical drugs. And I hope this information today will give you confidence in choosing a mushroom product for your patients. So I'll look at the questions. I don't know if I should do it, Dr. Nario, or you should follow it. My email is there, drsochi@gmail.com if you have any questions. And there's the phone number. I could put it in the chat, or so I'm not quite sure. Should I just go to the chat, Dr. Nario?
I think we got it there. Pretty plain. One question here: does Russia have the market cornered on chaga?
I don't know if they have the market corner of chaga. Uh, because I know, I mean, China also grows chaga, and they, many people, I think most Canadians and I think most Americans get their chaga from China. It's just that they're since I guess um since problems with China, with Russia for the last 25 years, we just haven't been able to get any of the new human studies of chaga from Russia. So they don't have the corner on the market. They kind of have the corner on the research, but um, there are animal studies, and that review was actually kind of new that I got. So there's new data coming out. It's not most of the data out there presently are animal studies or in vitro studies.
Okay, that's the only question I have in the chat. So, Dr. Mary.
Oh, okay.
I have email questions for you.
Oh, you have some questions for me. Go ahead.
Yes. So yeah, no, these are email that was sent to
Oh,
us.
emails. Oh, okay.
So, but I have to commend you for that great lectures. To be honest with you, there's so many mushrooms out there in the market that we're
Yeah,
so confused about what should we use. I mean, the ones that I'm familiar with really is cordyceps, just because we talk a lot about the cortisol curve and how it will be addressing that, and cordyceps always comes out in the list as one of the more
right,
powerful adaptogens out there. But
right.
yeah, and you did mention that in your lecture, so that was great. You kind of shed light on
Okay,
that.
good. I'm glad.
And yes, and you mentioned about and even one of them. You were mentioning about the mycelia, the bodies, the fruit bodies. I only know about beta glucans actually. It's a it's actually the most, I guess, immunomodulating part of it, which is it's a polysaccharide as I remember. But
Yes,
I
yes.
right.
Yeah, so it is that seems to be a standard that many mushroom companies are striving for. It is one of the immune modulating or immune mounting, whatever you want to consider it, parts of a mushroom, but certainly it might not even be the most active one. There was a study there where they did two different fractions in aqueous water extract, which would hold the polysaccharides such as beta glucans, and a lipid soluble fraction were turkey tail, the mycelium of turkey tail to be more specific, PSP, I think it's called, that type of extract from turkey tail. And so the lipid part would have the terpenes and more of the fatty acid portions of the mycelium. And the fatty acid portion had more immunopotentiating activity than the water fraction where the beta glucans would be at. So my point is, it's the whole mushroom. It's not just one fraction. They are amazing compounds in all mushrooms. But where's there so I believe in standardization of safety, making sure that the product is clean, um, and um, and then studies on how it works in this biochemical pathways. But safety is number one. And I think that's paramount, and that's for my concerns because so many people are using mushrooms for anti-tumor activity or highly mutated cells. I'm not going to use the C word.
Right, right.
Yeah, I'm trying to be DSHEA compliant, like you were talking earlier, Dr. Nario.
Right.
But yeah, but so and so you don't want to give a patient like that something that will worsen the situation. So
Mhm.
that's my clue. And then we're just finding, like for example, um if you're looking at beta glucan activity or content, and hopefully I'm not flipping the information, but I think there's more beta glucans on certain types, like 1,6 in the Mataki than there is in Reishi.
Mhm.
Reishi has 1,4, 1,6 more, but Reishi has thousands of years of research, observation, and we know even through scientific inquiry to have great immune activity. So it's not just one type of beta glucans. There's other types of beta glucans, and not to get stuck on one type of beta glucan or just one type of molecule. So that's why I try to talk about all the other activities it has, all the other antioxidants, the effects it has in different enzymes, glutathione, spermidine activity. These mushrooms have more than one thing going for them. They're multifaceted, kind of like we are as human beings.
And
Okay, I have a
oh, go ahead, go
question.
ahead, go ahead.
Okay. My question to Dr. Palomino, I think I remember her from AFORM in Palm Beach a couple years ago with yummy
Yes.
coffee and chocolate and things like that. Okay, here's my question. Can you take these mushrooms and make homeopathics from them?
I've never heard of homeopathic
Well,
mushrooms.
what's going to stop you from trying?
Exactly nothing. I'm trying to think because it's kind of like cures
Cool.
like. Yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to think how you would applicable for that. Because it's almost like when it's like arnica and the herb can actually cause more bruising, but if you're doing a homeopathic, it actually can help bruising. I don't know. I don't know what effects you could do with homeopathic with
I
mushrooms,
think
but I'm
it's an
sure there's
interesting
something.
area. It's an interesting area to research.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm curious. Now you got me thinking. Not, yeah, because you're energizing. What's the word? Cussing. Yeah,
Mhm.
and activating those molecules. It's be curious. I want to know where to begin and how it would affect the immune cells. Uh, that'd be a curious thing. I believe in homeopathy completely. It's been really helpful
Mhm.
for my health and well-being. But no, I haven't heard it.
I mean,
Maybe
with
Dr.
homeopathy, people can work with what's available and
Right,
go from there
exactly.
and learn from there. And that's probably how it originated in Europe. They worked with what
Yes,
was available, and they probably didn't have mushrooms that much at the time.
it's true. But
That'd be a guess.
Yeah, but Hahnemann did some crazy experiments with his own children, especially with
Really?
yeah with mercury. But his one son just went completely doing homeopathic. He
I
did.
mean, you could ask questions with kinesiology. Will this help?
It's
This may
true.
help. That
That'd
may
be
help. And
interesting. Yeah,
try
I'd be
that. Yeah.
curious. Yeah, I'd be curious. I haven't heard that, but there's nothing stopping someone from trying. Thank you.
We are not promoting that as punishment for our children nowadays.
No, no, we're not. No, no, we're not. Not at
We're not
all.
gonna
Sorry.
get
No, we're not going to do that. No. Oh,
yeah, but yeah, well, I think Shell, just to kind of remind me, I do remember some mushrooms that are part of the homeopathic repertoire.
oh,
Mm.
really?
Yeah, I think Amanita, also. So if
Oh,
you could remember, they're using all these toxic substances, and Amanita is known for its
it's
poisonous
birdie.
nature,
Yeah, it is.
right?
Amelia phalloides or probably Amelia phalloides because that's 90% of all wildcrafting mushroom deaths is Amanita phalloides. So that'd be
Okay.
interesting.
And
Yeah.
his alpha lipoic acid miracle Burke, Dr. Bert Berkson, who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, he wrote that IV alpha lipoic acid healed people from poison mushrooms. They
I
weren't
can
supposed
believe
to live,
that.
but he helped them.
Yeah, I can believe that's such a powerful antioxidant.
Right.
Yes, but yeah, yeah. I think they even did what with reishi. No, it was turkey tail and milk thistle. and helping recover someone either from an Amanita phalloides poisoning too. That's
Okay.
definitely, yeah, that's
And the
another
red mushrooms are wonderful to cook with.
where they are, but a lot of these are not culinary mushrooms like reishi or cordyceps. They have more traditional uses and traditional Chinese medicine and that nature. But you can make broths with them. I mean, that's what they do
You
in
need
Chinese
the
medicine.
conocimiento.
You need to what?
Conocimiento. You gotta have
Conocimiento.
enough.
Yes, you have some
Yeah, yeah.
knowledge.
You need
You
to
need
know
some
how.
conocimiento. Yeah, you need some knowledge. That's right.
Mhm.
I think the cookable mushrooms are more just shiitake, maitake, and lion's mane. So those
Yeah.
are the ones that you can. Yeah, you're right. Not all of them are,
Or morel
I
mushrooms
guess,
from
cookable.
northern Michigan.
Yeah, shiitake, I remember shiitake. They used them at Cordes at Costco as dried mushrooms. And I always tell my patients it's probably one of the most commercially available and beneficial mushroom you can get. That was pretty reasonable. I don't know if you can get them now. Don't
Do
remember.
morel mushrooms have any medicinal
Oh,
value?
sure. They definitely do. Some. I think all mushrooms have their benefit, but the thing about morels, you have to cook them thoroughly because last summer there was some sushi person that thought it'd be clever to do something new with morels and their sushi restaurant. They poured boiling water over it, but they didn't cook them completely. And one lady died from mushroom poisoning for not properly
Mm.
cooked mushroom. So yeah, so those type of mushrooms, you need to be sure you're cooking them properly. So anyways, but but I do. I think all mushrooms.
That would be an interesting little book, how to cook properly with mushrooms and what to watch out for.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't, there's also, anyways, there was a portobello mushroom scandal one time. There was death threats happening about cooking portobellos properly.
Mm.
Anyways, it's a controversial issue. Oddly,
Have you ever written any books on mushrooms or
have
wanted
I
to?
written? No, I haven't
Yeah.
written any.
Have you
I
wanted
am.
to?
Uh, I perhaps, I've been thinking that, like we were talking about neurodegeneration with Dr. Burgess and
Hmm.
also a little bit with Dr. Chesterfield or
You can
Dr.
talk with
Clearfield.
Dr. Tano. He likes to publish books.
Oh, does he? Okay, well, I'll try
Hmm.
to. But I think it's mostly looking how helping using these mushrooms for helping with memory and daily stressors and mood. Not because I think people are focused on energy, which is not bad, but it's not only lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, all those mushrooms also help with neurogrowth factor and brain-derived neurotropic factor and have neurogenesis
Have
effects.
mushrooms been used to support dementia, for instance?
Well, Alzheimer's dementia, yes. Discuss a 2024 study of Dr. Dean Ornish. Do you remember Dr. Dean Ornish in the 90s did a study with fish
Famous.
oil? Yeah, cardiologist. So he did another study, and last year was published in June, showing along, much like the cardiology one he did in the 90s, along with diet changes, lifestyle changes like yoga or stress meditation, omega-3 and lion's mane, 2 grams a day, improved the overall health and wellness of the patients with Alzheimer's dementia. So there is studies, I'd be silly to say it was just the lion's mane. I'm not going to say that, but much like anything,
Has anyone ever treated patients in nursing homes with mushrooms or naturopathic
I have not
protocol?
seen that. I haven't seen a protocol for that. It might be happening. It hasn't. I haven't seen a study about it. I just know that a lot of people are using it for memory issues, and also for children with developmental issues. We're using it with my niece. She's delayed a little bit, but she's improving. So
Any applications for autism that they've tried to support?
no study about that. Just like.
In terms of, getting rid of heavy metals, for instance.
Oh, heavy metals? No, not. I mean, in your garden, mushrooms can get rid of heavy metals, but within the body, I don't think they do that. I mean, could be wrong. They're very fibrous, so they could help with soluble fiber, removing it from the bloodstream. But heavy metals are really in our tissues, fatty tissues like our brain. So once again, the mushroom has to be clean. I don't know if it'll clear it, but I know it could help with the neurite growth. So,
Do
and help,
people, let's say they go to Whole Foods or they go
yeah.
to Sprouts or a health food store, do they teach customers how to properly clean mushrooms and how
Oh,
to
I don't
look
know
for
if
clean mushrooms? That's an interesting
no,
question.
I don't know if no, I'd never seen a study or anything like, I mean, a class or anything like that, but that's something they do. I know they have cooking classes like at Lazy Acres or Bristol Farms. They have the
Mhm.
kitchens there, but I don't know I don't never heard of maybe some Whole Foods do. Actually, in Seattle, I think the Whole Foods did have a cooking class, but most of them don't have space like that.
Actually, it's an interesting question. Or how to use mushrooms with pizza.
Yeah, just to cook them, just to have it. Yeah, just different
Making
ways.
me
Yeah, for
hungry.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, those were just some incidental questions I wanted to ask at the end.
Okay. Okay.
How
Well,
we
thank
feel.
you.
And
Yeah,
Sure.
those
thank
are
you
Sure.
awesome
again.
questions. We like food, so
Thank
it's
you.
getting to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about it.
I
Yes.
wrote a quick one.
Making us hungry, show.
Yeah.
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
so some of the questions. So this is my own personal questions because I deal with the C word, and we
All
use a
right.
genetic test that actually shows up with three major mushrooms. So as you mentioned about maitake, shiitake, and also Agaricus blazei. So those are the
Liz,
ones
yeah.
that show. Yeah, those are the ones that shows up the most in our cancer genetic testing. So that's
Interesting.
why. Yeah, and I know you did mention about other mushrooms that are still useful for cancer therapy. The thing here is one of the bigger challenges as I kind of correlate this indirectly, beta glucans, right? Actually, they are stimulating the innate immune system. So these
Right.
are like your neutrophils and K cells. We
Right. Right.
have a
Right.
lot of patients who actually, when they get low dose chemotherapy, their white counts go down. So this is basically
Right. Right.
chemo-induced.
Right.
Can mushrooms actually increase this white count, which I think we use Neupogen for it? And some of them are scared about it because the side effects of that is extreme bone pain because it's stimulating your bone
Right.
marrow to produce
Right.
more
Mhm.
white
Right.
cells.
So
But can
yes.
you do mushrooms for this?
Yes, well, first I want to tell you that it was initially thought, and maybe for older new data, that mushrooms only stimulate the innate immune system, but it is shown that they stimulate both, especially
Mhm.
Royal Sun blazei or agaricus. It's shown to really B cells,
Right.
the bone marrow, very
Mhm.
specifically the bone marrow. I forgot which one I almost want to go through my slides and just to like jog, but I talked about how one mushroom, I think it was Royal Blasi, I did both innate and acquired immune system. So both of them do it. Um, like especially turkey tail does more extracellular, like TNF alpha, more
Mhm.
systemic of the immune system. But that's more for inflammation or mounting the immune system, but that's more um, that tends to be more acquired immune system. The, or actually, I should say the innate, because that's like more macrophages, that's more autophagy, that's more the innate immune system. And then we have, there's a mushroom called Fomitopsis officinalis agaricon that I did not review here, that is more intracellular. And
Mhm.
that's, yeah, so that's more like the kinase cascade, apoptosis. That's more that. So there is research showing that both mushrooms that all mushrooms could do both, but it's some of them specialize a little bit more, like turkey tail is more extracellular, agaricon's more intracellular, and royal sunblazii seems to be both innate and acquired immune system. Um, yeah, with B cell mutations in our bone marrow, in our blood.
Mhm.
I can't say yeah, I can't say
Yeah.
you can say it, the C word, but those there's data showing the Royal Sunblazii is really good for that. I also just
Right.
want to, yeah, I don't
And
mean,
reishi has this
I have a
piece
quick
there.
question, if
Go
you
ahead.
guys. There seems to be a proliferation of mushroom coffees, mushroom teas now on the market. Has
yeah.
anybody looked into the efficacy or anything of these type of mushroom delivery?
Oh, as a delivery, I mean, it's a very ancient common one many companies are doing, making a mushroom tea is very common. I mean, mushroom broths even, that's how in traditional Chinese medicine they boil the mushrooms, especially the hard woody ones like reishi, turkey tail, and even cordyceps. They boil it for 8 to 12 hours to make a broth and or a tea with it. But is but it, these coffees and stuff are instant. They're supposed to be already heat treated. And that's kind of the problem. Are these mushrooms already heat treated when you add the hot water on it? Otherwise, you have to boil these mushrooms for 8 to 12 hours. So they need to be heat treated to make sure the chitin is broken in some of these mushrooms. Um, but yeah, drinking it is a very effective way that's a very ancient effective way. The problem is, have they prepared it correctly? And that's kind of where the rub is. If you want more of the polysaccharides or the water extracts of polyphenols, from the mushroom, then doing a hot water extract is a good idea. But if you want more of the terpenes, some of the acids, gonadoric acids, some of the short chatty, the fatty acids from the mushroom, then an alcohol extract will need to be done. So a lot of companies, that's why they do liquid extracts. Like they combine a cold water, hot water, ethanol extract of the fruit body and or mycelium, so they have everything in there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's an ancient way to do these hot beverages. The problem is are they ethical? Are they doing it, processing it correctly? Are they heat treating it? Because, some of these woody mushrooms take a long time, or you have to cook them somehow to extract those polysaccharides that you want, because otherwise, it's just like eating good fiber, which is fine. Our ferment takes any of those fibers, just
Okay, I
so.
have a question. Can you use wine to extract?
Oh, I'm sure you can. I've never seen it, but I'm sure you can. I know
And
some people were doing like beers with Chinese herbs and mushrooms, fermenting them. I mean, this is like 30 years ago. Yeah, I mean, they're
I
fun.
know that you and Dr. Neri were talking about beta glucan. What about alpha glucan?
Alpha glucan, it does have an effect on the immune system. It is present in mushrooms also, to be honest.
Is it
Uh,
energizing?
I don't know about energizing. I don't know if beta glucans are considered energizing. For example, like cordyceps is cordycepin that's known to help with ATP production. I don't know about beta glucans or glucans affecting ATP production. Mostly those are polysaccharides that affect the immune system somehow.
Well,
Either
what I was curious about, leading to what I was going to ask you, is there a mushroom mix that's good for elderly, for viejitos?
viejitos.
Viejitos.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I do think like it depends how severe the situation. Sometimes I think reishi is a very good mushroom for that.
Mm.
Reishi can affect, I don't know if you remember that chart. I don't even know um if it's on this chart, but it affects pretty much every organ system in the body. It's very gentle, and reishi is one of the mushrooms on the chart. I put the PDF of the slides on slide 20. It marks every one of those anti-aging longevity markers, things I talked about today. Um, so it's a comprehensive, mushroom. That's why it's called the mushroom of immortality or the
Mm.
elix.
But what I'm also leading to is maybe there's a good diet, with herbs and teas and mushrooms for the elderly that would be affordable and beneficial.
Sure. I mean, you can make teas. There's liquid extracts, like I said, where they put the fruit body and the mycelium, hot water, cold. You could put a couple of dropperfuls in your tea, and you could put it in your soup, or you could just take it. You also could take
There's
capsules.
probably some ethnic wisdom.
Oh, for sure. I mean, in
Yeah.
Asia and Japan and China, they know it's so precious that they would reserve it only for the royal families because they knew
Hmm.
they knew that its health benefits, and it had the reputation of the mushroom of immortality. So I think
Hmm.
it very good. I mean, for the elderly, that's a good place to start. The other one, it would be the seven mushrooms I just mentioned in a blend.
Hmm.
So
And
that'd be
also,
another
like
one.
in Africa, talking with Dr. Tano, there's ethnic wisdom in shaman in a long, long herbal tradition that goes back as well.
Right.
So we
Yes.
have to look at the old world.
Oh,
And I'm sure
definitely.
for Dr. Nario in the Philippines on the different islands, there's very interesting traditions there too.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be the fun mushroom show. That's so
Well,
that's the
those, yeah,
psilocybin, I think, that
yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah, those are definitely, yeah, no, definitely in many cultures, both functional and ethnogenic.
But there's also
Oh,
psychotherapeutic benefits, they say, for
absolutely.
these
And that's something I'm looking in my
formulations.
practice to do to help people with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and grief. Mostly microdosing does, discussing those benefits.
Oh, you're doing
Um,
that in your practice,
I
giving
yeah,
psilocybin?
yeah, no, not giving it, just discussing it.
Oh,
Um, how they can know because well, at least in California, but in Seattle it's decriminalized. So I'm looking doing retreats for people who want to do the hero's journey, and that's more the 3 to 5 grams. But microdosing, I just talk about it, how people to guide because so many. I think I don't know if it happened, Dr. Nario. We're talking at the A4M in Las
mhm.
Vegas, and a lot of people were talking about using the larger doses for those kind of conditions. And I would say, well, how are you prepping your patient? And they're like, oh, you mean like fasting? And I'm like, well, it's like, do you train for a marathon? Yes, you train for a marathon. You need to prep your patient for that. You need to talk about methylated B vitamins or good B vitamins, lion's mane, omega 3s, how to deal with these, tapping or meditation, working, having an intent, whether having counseling before and then after. So prepping up and then down, and also giving tools to your patients and how to deal if you're triggered again because it's not. I think we're always looking for
We
the silver
have
bullet.
another potentially exciting Zoom call coming up.
On that. Oh, wait, for me, I don't
Yeah,
know if
that
I
would
could
be
talk
great.
about it. I don't know if I could talk about it because technically it's still federally illegal. I don't
We
know.
talk about hypothetical things.
Hypothetically, but yeah, that's something of interest that I want to start practicing, helping guiding people, and I won't be,
Because it really
maybe.
does help. It helps people that really need help, and a lot of people don't know where to go.
Well, yeah, or which strain of mushroom to use. There's some that are more
Hmm.
gentle than others. People don't know
Which
that.
which to explore,
Which to explore,
which to
yes.
explore and research.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you which ones. I don't think that'd be against, I mean, I'm trying to follow all the Deshea rules here. I'm not
Right.
even seeing the C word here. Dr. Nario is saying that for me. But then, I might go to retreats in Colorado, Oregon, because those are legal therapy in a
And
clinical setting.
sometimes plants have organic germanium inside of them too.
Yes, that's true. Like naturally occurring, that's not dangerous. That's true. Yeah.
Hmm.
So here's the one of the kicker. I think this is one of the questions that I hear a lot about.
Uh,
Can medical mushrooms affect mold candida? So there's like I don't want to take it. It's gonna make my candida in the gut worse.
that's so
So fact
funny.
or fiction? What is your take on that as the mushroom expert?
I think I'm going to lean over that's fiction. Um, First of all, because it came out from a naturopath in the 1970s saying that that's dangerous, but absolutely no research. If you look at traditional Chinese medicine, they use reishi for Candida albicans. And people, how the hell is it's a mushroom, and also like, well, is E. coli the same thing as lactobacilli? They're both bacteria, but one is beneficial and one could be detrimental. I mean, E. coli, could be a natural part of our microbiome, but if it's out of control, just like Candida albicans, it could be dangerous. It tends to be myth. There's no really proof of that. I just listened to Lise Alschuler, who is the president of the Sonora University Naturopathic School in Arizona, and she was talking about the theory. It's theoretical pharmacology, and it has to do through the PAMPs. Oh my God, pattern associated macro. I forgot.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that mushrooms do that. They have that mechanism on the toll receptors that can be problematic because that's already active in mold or Candida albicans are already in an inflamed state. So there's a concern that PAM activation can make it worse. But we know that mushrooms are biphasic, like herbs are. They could both elevate the immune system or bring it down. Like, they could do both. So that's theoretical pharmacology, and it's yet to prove out that mushrooms like reishi will make mold and or Candida albicans worse or yeast worse. In fact, the traditional use and the clinical use setting shows that's the reverse. It actually can alleviate it. So,
And I agree because there are studies that I've read that even turkey tail, shiitake, and as you said, reishi definitely fights against candida and
mhm.
does not promote the overgrowth of that in the gut. So that's a big myth out there for people, for practitioners who are listening. You can definitely debunk that myth now with your patients because that's a common one that
Yes.
always your clinic.
I know. I heard that in naturopathic medical school, and we in our immunology class we debunked it. We found the but patients would still bring it up, and patients look, well, my acupuncture says this. I'm like, oh my God, what proof do they have?
Well, I want
None.
to be a walking testimony to, I'm sure you're going to promote your product in a bit, but
Oh
I
no,
was,
no
oh, you're not
products.
going to,
No,
no, no,
no,
later
no.
on. We're going to turn off the CME and you can
Oh no,
tell your
no.
stuff.
Oh no, no. I'm not going to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, it's up to you. Well, I just want to make sure I tell everybody that I use your product
Oh
and
great.
so sick. I don't know what I got. I just got seeing patients, and I thought I got COVID again. And I saw the sample that you gave me, and I chugged it down. I took it for 2 to 3 days.
Oh
That's the only
good.
thing that helped. So
Was it the
really,
Agaricon? I mean, I don't mind talking about some of the products about him. I don't. Was it happen to be the Agaricon, or you don't
you have the
remember?
combination product, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, probably was the Stammet 7 or the My
Yeah, and the
Community,
seven.
the
Yep.
host
Yeah.
defense. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if you need to turn off, but yeah, I don't mind
Well,
talking
yeah, we'll
about.
give you a moment here, a bit
I'll
for
talk about it, bit.
promotion.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Bill, I think you can let her
Let her go here.
turn.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So,
she can.
Dr. Xochitl, this was fabulous. Where do we go to learn the next step?
Oh, well, you certainly can. I'm gonna look like try to put some more videos of myself talking about mushrooms on YouTube. But you can always for the host defense, they have webinars for practitioners, webinar dash info at fungi.com if you're interested in checking them out. And yeah, hopefully I'll go to start doing talk about mushrooms myself on YouTube
All right.
and all their miraculous ways they can affect our well-being and health.
Can I throw in one more question?
Sure,
Do
Shell.
you think that mushrooms can be synergistic with CBD components?
Yes, I absolutely do. Especially so many ways. First of all, anti-inflammatory, both of them it can be super
Hmm.
beneficial on that. I do think CBD, fatty acids and mushroom for neurogenesis would be wonderful. I forgot the doctor
Mm,
that do CBD and fish oil to help someone from out of a coma. I already forgot. But
wow.
there are also myco and cannabinoids in mushrooms. There are cannabinoids in mushrooms also. They're very low concentration, but they're
But they're
there also.
there.
But they're there. So the synergism is very high potentially with CBD, all the cannabinoids, just to be honest. But if we're looking for neurogenesis or inflammation, definitely like
Are
CBN,
there
CBD.
ever medicinal compounds in cocoa beans, in chocolate?
Cacao? Oh yeah.
So I
Cacao.
was
I mean,
talking with Dr. Tano about that. Wow.
yeah, I don't know if you know my name, Xochitl. It's an ancient Aztec name, and there's two gods and goddesses, Xochiquetzal and Xochipili. So
Naturalmente.
Naturalmente, you do know. Okay, so there's a cacahuazochi. There's a drink in the Aztecs with chocolate and mushrooms and
Mm.
other herbs. So definitely chocolate has very great benefits. Someone told me the strangest thing. They ate pure cacao in Peru and they said they got intoxicated. I don't know how true that is. Um,
Hmm.
but
Well, you know, chocolate has anandamide, you know.
yeah, anandamide, exactly. It
Yeah.
has that love. Yeah, and so THC mimics anandamide. So it has that CB1 receptor, but also maca has an effect on that. Um, I want to say the echinamide also binds to
Mhm.
CB1 receptor as an anxiolytic. There's many things that affect the CB1 receptor and the CB2 receptor, where the cannabinoids, not just.
We need Ibera chocolate on mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. If you want me to do a cannabinoid, I used to, teach the Department of Health of Washington. I did the
Right.
medical portion of the medical consultant program. So if you want to talk
Mhm.
about cannabinoids, I could do one of those too. And maybe one day
Sure.
I'll do the
Okay.
blend of the two.
We can put you in Dr. Halas's group or another one. Yeah, sure.
We will have
All
you
right.
back. Okay, well, thank you so much. This was terrific. Next
Oh,
week,
you're welcome.
Dr. Derek Da Silva. He's the #2 man at AMMG. And I'm not sure what his topic is, but he's an interesting guy. So thank you so much, Dr. Xochitl.
Oh, you're wonderful.